Last time I did one of these videos, I did Black Flag, and it went okay. But this game is the one I've been worried about, Assassin's Creed 3. If you're unfamiliar with this series of mine, I start an Assassin's Creed game from the beginning and try to make it as far as I possibly can in the game without being spotted. I've done it for a bunch of them at this point, and I've been specifically dreading doing this for AC3, not because I dislike the game, it's quite the opposite, but because stealth in AC3 is, well, let's say limited. There's not a whole lot of opportunity for it, especially in the introduction. That's the other thing that makes AC3 difficult for this kind of video. It has a very long intro, and we don't even play as Connor until a few hours into the game. So I wasn't even confident I'd be able to make it to Connor without being spotted. And the thing is, there's not a genuine stealth mission where you can actually be spotted until like an hour in. I really like AC3's opening, but man does it make it a drag for this kind of video. Lots of combat, lots of cutscenes, very few stealth missions. But I was determined to do my best regardless. And this may very well be the only Assassin's Creed game in the series where I actually prefer combat to stealth. But hey, at least this time the video won't end to me falling off of a tree. Probably. We will be fine. So with the impossibly difficult task ahead of me, I started my new game on Assassin's Creed 3, and you all are going to join me on my journey as I attempted to get as far into the game as possible without being spotted. Assassin's Creed 3 begins with a very hype introduction narrated by William Miles in the modern day, recapping the events of AC1 and the Ezio trilogy for any new players or those who may have forgotten what's happened so far, while also setting up the premise of the game. The world is ending, and it's supposed to happen on December 21st, 2012. Which, for those who remember, was the date people thought the world was actually going to end in real life. Quick history lesson, this belief initially came from a Mayan calendar from thousands of years ago that had seemingly predicted that the world would end in 2012. There were documentaries, movies, and a lot of people were freaked out. It was pretty smart of the AC writers to incorporate this into the modern day story of Assassin's Creed 3. We've seen time and time again where Assassin's Creed has put its own twist and takes on real history, and this time it was doing that, but for the present. I remember December 21st, 2012 very well too. I was in school and my classmates were so freaked out about the world ending, and I was all like, nah, it's okay guys, Desmond saved us. Maybe the world really did end and we're all just living in an alternate reality now. But anyways, with the end of the world approaching, it is vital that Desmond and the gang communicate with the Izu and find a way to save the world. Desmond, still possessing the apple he retrieved in Brotherhood, in his second round of plastic face surgery, finds a way into the Grand Temple. He gets KO'd almost immediately and dropped into the Animus, where he synchronizes with one of my favorite characters in all of Assassin's Creed, the sassy legend himself, Haytham Kenway. And for all I knew, there was a good chance I may not play as Connor, so Haytham may have been my sole protagonist for the journey. I will say though, as a result of replaying AC3 so many times for videos, and seeing these scenes a lot, I found myself taking note of and appreciating the smaller details. They really do such a great job of establishing Haytham's character right off the bat, his sassy attitude, charisma, and directness.
Invitation, please. Shall I take your coat, sir?
My apologies.
It's so funny because he acts so classy and polite while doing some of the most despicable things. And man, the performance is great. If they gave out Oscars for video games, give it to Adrian Hoff. He definitely embodied this role, and not only voice, but body language as well. It really made me want to see a Haytham Kenway game where they adapted the story in the Forsaken novel. I think that would have been really cool, but at least he still has a significant role in Rogue. Anyway, Haytham meets up with Reginald Birch, another character I would have liked to see a bit more of in the games, since he's such a big part of Haytham's story and why he became a Templar to begin with, but we're tasked with assassinating one of the men at the opera in what is probably one of the coolest opening assassination missions of the entire series, if not the coolest. The creativity and atmosphere in this mission is fantastic. I climbed my way around the opera, assassinated the target. I love how on the subtitles it just says opera target. His name is actually Miko, and he was one of the leaders of the British Brotherhood who worked closely with Edward as co-leaders, hence why Haytham is assassinating him here. It's really cool how knowing all of this can completely recontextualize AC3's opening and what exactly is happening. Meanwhile though, this little kid, with about the creepiest eyes I think I've ever seen, has witnessed the whole thing. That kid is most certainly scarred for life. I mean seriously, Haytham can act so classy and charismatic that you can forget how absolutely terrifying he is. And fun fact, you can actually meet this kid later on in the game as Connor, as he takes up after his uncle Miko and joins Connor's assassins. His name is Duncan Little, and you can tell it traumatized him for his entire life with how vividly he remembers it.
Went to have a piss, and when I came back, there's your dad. Dashing as they come he was, shirt, jacket immaculate. My uncle was just slumped there. Looked like he was sleeping, but I knew better, even if I was only a child. Your dad locked eyes on me. And I don't think I've ever been so frightened as I was in that instant. It wasn't a fear that he was going to cause me pain. It was this sense that he saw right through me, into my heart, and he would crush it if it had pleased him. But he didn't. He just raised his finger to his lips and gestured for my silence. I complied. And then he was gone.
But with one murder and permanently traumatized child on our hands, we very elegantly walk out of the opera. For some reason, the guards think this guy did the murder, so they just tackle him. Poor guy, I don't know why they thought he did it. If you ask me, Haytham looks way more suspicious. He's not dressed like anybody here. But we continue to just take a nice little stroll out of the opera house as people continue to be wrongfully accused. And with that, we get a cool little transition to Reginald Birch and the other Templar leadership in Britain, as they task Haytham with sailing to America to find the temple that this little amulet will open. They don't know what will be in this temple, but they're sure it will be good for them and bad for the assassins. I really wish we could have seen Haytham kill Birch in this game, or maybe in Rogue. Seeing him avenge Edward would have been nice. The game completely skips over it, but I guess that's not really too important in the context of AC3's story, since this is more about Connor. But Haytham heads for America via the Atlantic. These guys want to pick a fight with Haytham for literally no reason. I could not think of a dumber thing to do, and they're lucky to have survived. It's funny, at this point I've already made it farther into the game than I have for these videos and some of the other AC games, because there hasn't even been a single stealth mission yet. But the ship captain, Samuel Smythe, wow that's a peculiar name, he breaks up the fight and wants Haytham's help because he believes the ship's crew is planning to mutiny. Haytham reluctantly agrees, but quickly puts old Samuel Smythe in his place. The man looks absolutely terrified, and I don't blame him. Haytham then straight up takes the drink the captain poured for himself, basically letting him know that he owns him. After some investigating and talking to people, Haytham discovers that someone is leaving marked barrels in the water, likely for someone to follow, and sure enough, someone did. The captain orders Haytham to go below deck since he's all but useless when it comes to naval warfare, which is a detail I really like about Haytham's character. He does not like being on a ship, which is in stark contrast to both his father and his son. Every time he's on a ship, he's never the one to take control. It's even the same in Rogue, he lets Shay helm the ships. I've always thought that was a cool little detail to his character, and just another example of how he's a complete opposite from his father and son, who were both assassins. But when Haytham is below deck, he finds Mills waiting for him, revealing that this whole time there was no mutiny, just Mills leaving traces for the assassins to come find Haytham and get revenge for what happened to Miko at the opera. First of all, Mills, you are a terrible assassin. What kind of assassin just announces his plan like that and gives Haytham time to react, and then puts a sword in his hand for an honorable duel? Honor? Dude, you're an assassin. Dishonor is our whole thing. Why are you even telling him all this and giving him a sword? Stab him with a hidden blade when he least expects it and be done with it. I don't know what they're teaching at the British Brotherhood, but between this guy and Duncan Walpole, I'm starting to think there's a problem. I think they decided to write it this way because they were still going for this subversion of trying to have people think Haytham is an assassin, And so if Mills here suddenly attacked him with a hidden blade, or had some kind of hood on, it would be a dead giveaway. That has to be the reason, because there's no way an assassin would be this stupid. But maybe Mills is just a special exception and he really cares about having honor. But if you plan on fighting with honor, the Brotherhood is not for you. I do love that Haytham is just not fazed in the slightest by this revelation. He kind of just finds it amusing because he knows this guy isn't capable of killing him. And so I absolutely violate Mills in our duel, knocking him over, throwing him into barrels. Haytham is just toying with him. I think Mills is broken here from all the brain damage, and we finish him off in the most disrespectful way possible. He still put up more of a fight than Duncan Walpole though, so at least he has that, I guess. But with Mills dead, Haytham fills the captain in on the situation. He very stupidly tells Haytham that if the assassins want him, they can have him, but immediately squirms when Haytham threatens him with a hidden blade. Haytham's idea is to sail into the storm. Samuel Smythe says he won't do it, but changes his mind again once Haytham threatens him again. These two are like a comedy act at this point. But after securing some ropes and deploying the sail, the Aquila sinks, which I can't believe I never put together before, but that's the same ship Connor repairs and uses himself later on in the story. I don't know how I never made that connection before, but that's a cool detail. But with that done, we make it out of the storm and arrive in America with one of my favorite title card sequences in the entire series. But hey, you want to know something funny? We're nearly an hour in at this point and still not a single stealth mission. I warned you guys, it was going to be a while. It's a very story-driven opening and everything involving gameplay has been combat related thus far. But once we reach Boston's harbor, we meet, not yet Connor. Charles Lee is a massive Haytham fanboy. Can't blame him, to be honest. And credit to Charles Lee's voice actor. His voice really sounds higher pitched and more enthusiastic, in contrast to how it sounds deeper and more villainous when we're reintroduced to him from Connor's perspective. But me and my best friend Charles take a stroll around the town, we run into Benjamin Franklin, as one does in colonial Boston, and head to the general store to get stocked up on weapons. We then head to the Green Dragon Tavern. I love that this big Templar operation is just being run out of this shabby little tavern. I guess it's smart, no one would suspect it. But it's here where we meet William Johnson and head out to help Thomas Hickey recover the research he needs to find the location of the temple. Mr. Hickey is being a bit rude, and my best friend and brother-in-arms Charles doesn't take too kindly to that. What a nice, loyal guy Charles is. He doesn't seem like the type to strangle kids. Connor, you haven't even been born yet. The three musketeers head out to kill all the mercenaries and retrieve William Johnson's research. I wasn't sure if stealth was actually possible in this mission. Every time I played it, I just engaged in combat and never really tried it. So this time, I really tried to remain unseen by climbing along the outer wall of the fort. But it turns out no matter what you do, you'll instantly be detected by the mercenaries when you get near them, even though they clearly don't see me. But whatever, Haytham, being the demon he is, deals with them in mere seconds, and the mercenaries very stupidly try to hide behind a door with a bunch of explosives in front of it.
On with the show then.
As we go to retrieve the box, a mercenary fires a warning shot. If he were smart, he would have just shot Haytham in the back instead of giving him the opportunity to draw his own pistol. Like seriously, these guys just murdered all your men. Why are you trying to give them an opportunity for mercy? Anyways, I instantly quickshot this fool, and we continue to kill our way out of the situation. Again, no stealth is possible here, I tried, but the mercenaries will instantly spot you once they spawn in. With them dead, we return the research to William Johnson, and Charles and I go out to find our next recruit, Benjamin Church. I really like this scene where Charles kicks down the door and Haytham's all surprised, as if Haytham hasn't done way worse than a little breaking and entering up until this point. However, Benjamin Church has been abducted, so Charles and I investigate his whereabouts on the streets, where we conveniently eavesdrop on people who happen to talk about the exact directions Church was taken to. There was a slight risk of me being spotted here, but it was pretty simple to blend in with the people and environments to safely avoid detection. We reach the warehouse where Church is being held. Finally, our first genuine stealth mission, and it only took an hour and a half to get here. And of course, in classic fashion, I almost immediately ruin it. I thought I could make this jump onto the little beam here, but I guess I overestimated Haytham's abilities, as I fell short and dropped right in front of a big patrol of guards. Luckily, I'm able to run around the corner and hide in the grass in time, but that nearly ended in disaster and would have been extremely pathetic to go out 10 seconds into the first stealth mission of the game. One of the guards came to investigate the bushes I was hiding in, so I had no choice but to cover assassinate him, which led to another guard nearly spotting me and coming over to investigate, so I assassinated him as well, and then another guard almost spotted me, so this time I just beelined it for the door and triggered the cutscene. Now I needed to get the key off of one of the guards on the harbor, which may have proven to be a bit difficult as there were 2 other guards nearby. I made it a priority to take out the 2 guards first so I could safely pickpocket the key, only for the 3rd guard to randomly turn around and nearly spot me. I quickly went down the ledge to get out of sight and just assassinated him and looted the key off his corpse, just to avoid the possibility of him turning around while I try to pickpocket him. The AI in this game can be really weird sometimes. We entered the warehouse where I found Arno Dorian threatening to cut up Mr. Church.
Don't give me that look. Victor cheats when he plays Pharaoh, everyone knows it. Quiet now. I need to concentrate on me work.
Sorry, Arno. But with the 3rd recruit of our little Templar posse safe and sound at the tavern, Charles and I continued our buddy cop adventures as we sought out the 4th recruit, John Pitcairn. Unfortunately, the bulldog Edward Braddock believes Pitcairn is a deserter and won't let us have him, so instead we must create a diversion to corner Braddock and his army to take Pitcairn back by force. This scene always confused me a bit because Braddock is well aware of who Charles Lee is. Charles works for him after all, so I don't know why Braddock would so easily take what's obvious bait here, but nobody in this game has been very smart so far. I do like the implied history as well between Haytham and Braddock. It adds a lot more to the story, knowing some of these dynamics have some prior history. Haytham and Braddock were like brothers when they were each in the Templar Order, until Braddock grew violent and psychotic, even too much for Haytham's liking. Again, I feel like they try to make you think Haytham is an assassin by saying he used to call Braddock brother, as that's what assassins call each other. Another clever subversion on the part of the writers, but anyone who watched the trailers or paid attention to the game's cover probably knew this game was not about Haytham. But anyways, Haytham decides to spare Braddock because of their history together. A rare glimpse of mercy from Haytham as he kills almost every hostile he comes across in this game. But with the all-star team in place, the Templars plan to break into a prison encampment and kill Silas Thatcher. Haytham hopes that the natives they free will show them the location of the Grand Temple that the amulet belongs to. Hickey and Johnson flip over a wagon to set up a blockade so that the convoy can't pass through the street. I had never actually waited to hear all the dialogue when Hickey was talking to the Redcoat before. Eventually he just gets fed up and yells at Haytham to attack already.
Oi, Haytham! It's now or never!
And once again, this is another forced combat encounter where stealth isn't a possibility. A recurring theme for Assassin's Creed 3's mission structure, you'll notice. With the convoy now ours though, the boys and I all dress up as redcoats and head for the fort. Haytham meets Connor's mother. Truly love at first sight. And I have to command my comrades to take out any soldiers who get too close to our convoy. However, for some reason the mission got bugged for me. Hickey was just stuck on the roof, and the game wasn't letting me use the left bumper to command them to attack. So spamming the left bumper, not being able to do anything, we just drove right past everybody. I almost got spotted. It's a miracle I didn't. Not that it really mattered anyway, since the entire mission was glitched, and I couldn't even trigger the next cutscene. I swear, stuff like this only happens when I'm recording. It's like the game knows. It's so weird because I was hearing the pistol reloading sound effect, which makes me think that I couldn't command my recruits because for some reason, the game is trying to reload the pistol in a mission where that isn't possible. But a fresh reload later, we deal with all the guards and infiltrate the camp. Hatham sets the missus free, and I finally reached another real stealth mission where I must free the captives without being seen. The red coat uniform makes it so that enemies detect me a lot slower, so this was pretty easy. Any soldier that got too close, I would kill, but for the most part, I could just avoid them all. It helped that my companions were distracting them with conversation as well. When I got to the ship, it became a little more complicated, but I just used cover and waited for the guards to walk near me for the easy assassinations. I really love this game's cover assassination animations. I mean, who am I kidding? The animations in general in AC3 are of the best in the series. But after dealing with the soldiers on the ship, I freed the last round of captives, and the game would put me in another forced combat encounter. Again, I don't believe there's any actual way to assassinate Silas without being seen, because I got instant detected through a wall. So, after making short work of his soldiers in combat, I quick-shotted him, where Benjamin Church coldly shoots Silas Thatcher in the face before he can even get a word out. After weeks of waiting for the Mohawk prisoners to make contact, Charles Lee, the greatest wingman you could ask for, finds the location of Connor's mother. She's about to be ambushed by wolves until Charles foolishly shoots one, wanting to be Hatham's hero, and causes her to run away. After Hatham romantically chases and yells at the woman, because what's not romantic and in no way creepy about that, he finally catches up. I do really like the detail that Hatham can't do parkour on trees while Connor can, since Connor is a native and learned how to do tree parkour from a young age. Again, I really like some of these smaller details in AC3. Hatham tries to rizz up Connor's mother, but fails tremendously.
What do you want?
Well, your name, for one.
I'm Gadzit Zio.
Oh, pleased to meet you. God's day.
Just call me Zio.
Dio.
Zio.
Charles Lee.
However, before she shows Hatham the location he seeks, she needs to be able to trust him first, which he'll have to earn by killing Edward Braddock, who torments her people. The pair go into the nearby tavern, where I have to engage in a series of brief eavesdropping missions. And again, for some reason, these redcoats decide to pick a fight with Hatham for no reason. I don't know what it is about Hatham that has every random person suddenly wanting to pick a fight with him. But after a very fun bar fight that allows you to use the environment for some takedowns, Hatham and Zio head for Braddock's camp. As we've reached another stealth mission, I must infiltrate the fort and find out what Braddock is up to. I did what I always do during this mission and hid in the wagon to easily get inside the fort. Immediately upon exiting, I stuck to the tall grass and bushes while eavesdropping on George Washington. Fun fact, if you actually assassinate George Washington, the game will desynchronize you, as that obviously would not have happened. Another little cool detail I wanted to point out, as George was walking up to the top of the fort, there was this other guard in my way, so I figured I'd quickly assassinate him very carefully. Only he turns directly to me and instantly spots me as I exit cover, not even giving me the chance to assassinate him. It just immediately makes me go into combat and desynchronize. I guess I could have been more careful, but I feel like I definitely should have been able to assassinate him here. I don't know. AC3's AI and detection can be really weird sometimes, and unfortunately, the journey ends here. I didn't make it to Connor. I'm so sorry, Connor. I tried, man. I tried. Ah! I figured stealth for this video would be challenging, but all things considered, I still made it over 2 hours into the game without being spotted, which is pretty good in comparison to how I've done in the rest of these videos. But a lot of those 2 hours didn't even have stealth missions. Oh well, next up is AC Revelations, which I think should be a lot more forgiving and stealth oriented for this kind of video. I apologize, I didn't make it to Connor. I really tried, and I know some of you will be disappointed, but regardless, I hope you enjoyed the adventure. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy it, I'd appreciate it if you considered leaving a like and subscribing if you're new, as I talk about this series a lot. And other than that, thank you, and stay stealthy out there, assassins. Don't get spotted like me.
Where is Charles Lee?